This week on the Erotic Awakening Podcast, episode 751, BDSM and Attachment Styles with Sir Panda, Orgasmic Energy, and Intrigue. Welcome to Erotic Awakening, an exploration of all things erotic. If you are offended by adult topics or prohibited by law, it's recommended you stop listening right now. First, a heartfelt thanks to the amazing patrons of Erotic Awakening, each and every one of you. Your support keeps this podcast going and the education happening. A special welcome to our newest supporters, Coffee Chick and Billy. I'm so glad you're here, and thanks for your support. If Erotic Awakening or our books, presentations, classes, intensives have supported you, inspired you, or helped you feel seen, I invite you to join in supporting this work so it can continue. Just visit patreon.com/Erotic Awakening. Every contribution helps keep this going. Hi, everyone. I'm Dawn, and I'm here this week to continue the conversations on power exchange, polyamory, sacred sexuality, and everything in between. This week is attachment styles in BDSM. Many of us have heard of attachment styles. Many of us have heard of attachment styles in polyamory, but this is a take on it in BDSM with Sir Panda. Let's give it a listen. Today, we have Sir Panda with us, and we are going to talk BDSM and attachment styles. And I'm sure some of you have heard of attachment styles when it comes to poly or regular relationships or trauma or all of the things, but this is BDSM and attachment styles. So welcome, Sir Panda.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So BDSM and attachment styles. I'm sure some people have heard of that. I have not. So I'm kind of curious how you got that to blend together or pique your interest.
I've been a dominant for over 15 years now. And I've been involved in different communities. And then I was introduced, I will credit Jessica Fern in Polysecure for introducing me more to the attachment styles, even though I had heard of that through counselors and such. I had been poly as well. I'm still poly. So I was looking at that and going, okay, in my own attachment, I have really varied, depended on who my partner was, what kind of DS relationship we've had. And it started me wondering, okay, as a dominant, am I more tending towards a certain attachment styles, or my submissives tending to that? What about switches? So I delved deeper into attachment styles and started research, frankly, and talking to people and reading scholarly articles about, is there a connection?
So have you found if dominants lean towards a certain attachment style, or is it pretty mixed, or?
Well, the interesting thing I've found is that most people who are involved in BDSM have more secure attachment styles than those who are not.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right, but it also brings up the question, are people with more secure attachment styles drawn to BDSM, or does being in BDSM create more secure attachment styles?
I know what I would guess. I would think being in BDSM creates more secure attachment styles, but I don't know. That's just my personal experience.
And we talk about everything, like polyamorous folks, but especially those of us who are involved in BDSM, we talk about everything. And one of the things I found, going back to your original question about different BDSM roles being drawn or expressing different attachment styles, yes, the majority of the research, although not all, has pointed to that dominants are more prone to secure attachment styles, right? And a secure attachment style or an avoidant attachment style, which is the kind of push away, keep you at a distance. And that kind of makes sense for the kind of detachment that can happen if you're a sadist, if you're a dominant, right? If you are too, I'm big on empathy as a dominant. If you're too empathetic, you can't make that separation, right? And that submissives tended more towards anxious attachment style.
You're stepping on toes right now, but yes, I can see that.
Not my, not my conclusion, but
Right.
several scholar, not all of them, but several scholarly articles I've read, especially in the largest, believe it or not, the largest study on this happened in the People's Republic of China. So this were several thousand respondents looking at how attachment styles related to BDSM. There have been
So
several, yeah.
can we go to something a little basic as we're talking about attachment styles? I'm actually assuming everybody knows what an attachment style is, because polysecure has been around for a while,
Mhm.
and it's such a big topic that people talk about now. And if you go to therapy, it's the big thing.
Mhm.
So can you give me just kind of a quickie of what an attachment
Sure.
style is?
Sure. It comes from attachment theory, which basically says we, as youngest in childhood and even in infancy, form different attachment styles with our caregivers. Those kinds of styles carry on into adult relationships, right? So if you've had caregivers who are aligned with your needs are met consistently, they form strong emotional bonds, then you end up with a more secure attachment style. And there are three others which are considered insecure attachment styles, but there are advantages to each as well as the disadvantages. But a lot of people focus on the negatives, and they can bring negatives. There's anxious or preoccupied, and these are your clingy folks, right? These are your insecure folks who need a lot of reassurance, right? There's the avoidant style, which is almost the opposite of the anxious. And this one, they keep people at a distance, right? Now, the avoidant is usually caused when caregivers were really critical or emotionally distant. They learned not, or even abusive, they learned not to trust people. Whereas you're anxious, basically the care was unreliable, right? And maybe focused more on the needs of the caregiver rather than the child. So you're like needing, there's a neediness there because your needs weren't met. The final kind of insecure attachment style is called disorganized or fearful. And that's kind of a push me, pull you towards the two opposites of the anxious and avoidant, and can be one of the most difficult to deal with in a relationship.
So another quickie question. In your research, have you found that people with insecure attachment styles can heal to where they become more secure? And if so, if not, that kind of answers itself. But if
Uh,
so, how does that affect a DS dynamic that may work together because there's different styles that have opposites?
Well, the good news is that you can become more secure in a relationship without changing your personality, right? I
Nice.
mean, you might still have some insecurities. There's a lot of, as you said, intersectionality between like neuroatypicality, gender, other factors, right, that come in. So don't discard those. Don't discount those other elements. But you can improve your security without changing your whole personality. And that's introspection is a good thing. Now, us anxious folks like to ruminate, right? So don't not delve deeply, but it's more about reflection and self awareness than it is running over and over and over your actions and why you did bad and what bad is going to happen, right? Practice self compassion is another way to self cultivate your security. Know how to self soothe, right? And know how to forgive yourself, which is which can be difficult for some of us. But know that you are not bad. You're just learning how you react to things and learning to react a little more consciously, right? You're not broken, right? So it doesn't actually need to be fixed. It's more like redirecting a stream. Okay, my thoughts or my feelings are going in this direction. I recognize that. So now that's an insecure thought, or I'm really pushing someone away. And that's the other thing you can do is act opposite to your normal patterns, right? If you're constantly texting your partner hundreds of times a day, take a break. Check in once in a while. If you never check in with your partner, try reaching out, right? If they're needing a little more touch, take them out, just send them a meme a day, something that knows that make your partner know that you're thinking of them.
So this sounds like something that could be blended with the 5 love languages, because I was just teaching that as well. So you're talking about if they need touch and you don't usually give touch, then do something that's the opposite. So become very self-aware and aware of your partner, is what I'm
Yes,
hearing.
yes, I like that you brought up the love languages. That's very much part of showing a partner that they're valued,
Hmm.
right? By getting to know them, getting attuned to their needs is a big way you can ensure that to encourage solid attachment because basically reliability builds security, right? If you're
Hmm.
consistent, if you pay attention, if you reach out and know what their languages are, be attuned to their needs. If they're having distress with their form of attachment, right? Like they really, really need reassurance or they're clamming up. Help management. Basically, if you're in it and you're in it. If you want to continue a relationship, you're not responsible for fixing the other person, right? But you have a responsibility to help manage that distress if you want to try and continue a relationship that's more secure. So if they're having problems, it comes down, we use the communication word all the time.
Right, right.
But that's
Communicate,
the only
communicate,
way.
communicate. Yeah.
Communicate, and pay attention. There's a
Yeah.
lot, even without talking to someone, there's a lot that you can learn from their body language. How are they moving? How are they responding in play? For example, to bring it back to DS, does your dominant look bored? Right?
Yeah.
Is your submissive really having to overcome nervousness about doing a particular scene or a particular protocol? Those could be indications of where you can reach out, become a little more attuned, increase their security.
So it's God, I've got love languages in my head and attachment styles and personality styles and all of these things. It's about getting to know yourself and know each other. So I'm assuming this makes sense to me that everyone has an attachment style.
Yes, but
And
not just one. I would say everyone has a dominant, not to you, little d, attachment style, right? But there are other elements that come in. So everybody, according to attachment theory and my experience and everything I've read, everybody, I mean, it's pretty big in scope. Everybody shows elements of one of these attachment styles and usually has one that is more prominent than the others. And I've taught a class on attachment styles in BDSM before, and people are going, "Oh, that's me." I describe anxious, and they say, "Yes, yes, I do that all the time." So a lot of identifying with different kinds of styles. It's not a panacea. It's not the answer to everything, but it would be kind of nice if what's your attachment style became kind of as comfortable as saying what's your sign.
right. And you know what? I actually have people in my life that do talk about that a lot. What's your attachment style and things like that. So how can someone figure out what their attachment style is? Do you have a place you would send them to figure it out?
Yeah, I do recommend Jessica Fern's work. It doesn't specifically address BDSM, but addresses poly. But even if you're in DS, even if you're not polyamorous, it's a great distillation of the research that has come before it in a very approachable way. There's the Attachment Project online, who I highly recommend. Another good place to start would be just there are tons of attachment style quizzes, and it's just like what's your sign, but and it's just like any other quiz, but it's a really good tool for self reflection. Oh, I did not know I did that. Don't underestimate seeking help or support. Talk to your friends about, well, even if you're not comfortable with bringing up with a partner, you don't have a partner, talk to a friend and say, have you noticed me being anxious about XYZ?
Hmm.
Or you said you never hear from me. Is that something that bothers you? Is that something I do all the time? So talk to people and never underestimate the power of professional help.
Nice, nice, nice.
You can seek a therapist who is well versed in attachment styles and or trauma in childhood, right?
Hmm.
Because the attachment theory says that all of this comes out of early childhood experiences, as early as our first 2 years, as to whether or not we're given the proper care and attention and love we need. So, unpacking your inner child, right?
Right.
I know sometimes I have trouble looking back to my 5 year old self with compassion,
Yep.
but yeah, professional help in doing that. If you can't reflect or say hello to that younger self of yours and say, what were you like? What
Hmm.
happened to you? But yeah, getting in touch with that younger you that a lot of us some maybe don't like thinking about. Maybe there is some trauma involved in the childhood. Maybe we think we are weak if we touch, that part of ourselves. But really, if you're to really understand attachment theory, let's figure out where did it come from. Oh, and by the way, you can change attachment styles because of trauma in adulthood as well.
Hmm. I imagine so, with different things that can happen. And I know you said that it can change, especially in polyamory, it can change depending on which partner you are with. So I'm assuming because it's going to interact with their attachment style, so it can bring out different aspects of yours.
Absolutely, absolutely. And unfortunately, the dismissive or avoidant style tends to end up with the anxious style a lot, right?
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is a recipe for because you've got one reaching out and needing more and more reassurance. You've got the other keeping their distance. But as far as different, yeah, I'm polyamorous and a polyamorous dominant. So I have a partner who's also my submissive, and I was seeing another submissive play partner,
hmm,
and I had no doubts about my partner. We'd been together at this point like 7 years. We'd spent a portion of it long distance. I was perfectly secure. I knew her, I was perfectly secure. My play partner, however, we had an imbalance going on. She was definitely more standoffish and dismissive. And I was anxious and reaching out and not getting we had you've heard the sex was great, right? The DS was amazing. We had this amazing connection in DS, but outside of it, it was kind of a stretch. And we had also what I call a love imbalance. I was way more enamored with her than she of me. I had more bandwidth
hmm,
for the polyamory, where she was only interested in the E&M of it. And so that kind of imbalance kind of just fed on our attachment styles in that, with me reaching out more, her pulling away more. And
right.
not the only factor, but eventually it contributed to a breakup.
Yeah, I have seen that and experienced that. So to get to know yourself and to know how all of this influences you and affects you, this is all just great Great information. So, Sir Panda, thank you for joining me today. How can people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you about your classes that you teach or anything like that?
I am active on FetLife as Sir Panda. You can also find DS Outreach on there. That's my educational arm, and you can go to dsoutreach.com for a full list of the classes I teach. Watch there and watch my FetLife for some upcoming classes that are going to be online. You can reach me at the emails listed there, right? dsoutreach.com. And I'd be happy to hear from you and see you at one of my classes, or look for me, who knows, maybe to be here again, or I have irons in the fire. So if you want to warm yourself by those irons, you are welcome.
Fabulous. Well, thank you for joining me on the show tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me, Don. I've really appreciated it.
If you'd like to share a cup of coffee or conversation with me, here's where you can find me in person. EV in Phoenix, March 21st, I'll be presenting. New Mexico Leather and Kink Fair in Albuquerque, April 11th, I'll be presenting and vending. Primal Arts in Baltimore, May 7 through 11, presenting. Twisted Tryst, that's the new one, June 11 through 14, presenting. South Dakota in July. Wisconsin for Seek, a submissive retreat, October 8 through 11. Satyricon in Madison in November, and more to come. So as the details get ironed out, I'll make sure to add them here. I may not be scheduling anymore, though. Well, maybe. They keep coming in. How cool is that? But the reason behind it of not actively like looking for more events is because I would like to start weekend retreats, and I plan to do so. My schedule has changed a little bit from what I had planned on doing, so I may be able to do those sooner rather than later. Keep up with all the places I'm presenting or vending, my online classes and intensives and retreats, book news, discounts, and more via the Erotic Awakening newsletter. And get your EA shout out like Jill in Minnesota and Cherry Pie in Arizona. Head over to eroticawakening.com and subscribe to the newsletter today. Wow. Okay, I skipped last week of the podcast, and there's a good reason for that. And I will go into that in just a little bit. So, since the last podcast, I went to Northwest Ohio and I taught erotic energy and energy orgasms to a private group. That was a lot of fun. That was a 5-hour intensive, crazy, intensive. And I got to try something new. How cool is that? After 2.5 decades, okay, almost 3 decades of doing sacred sexuality and kink and all these things, I got to try something new. And it wasn't in my notes. It was a very intuitive thing that came to me with this group of people. And who knows if I'll do it again. But what I got to do was to lay someone down on the floor, use my pendulum to show people how chakras are located or where chakras are located on the body, and how to tell by using a pendulum if they're open or closed. And this person had a couple that were closed, and that's normal. So I asked her if I could straddle her and shoot energy from my root chakra. And if you know, you know. So I shot from my root chakra to her root chakra energetically and shot that energy up through her chakras and out through the top of her head. It was powerful. Then I used the pendulum again, and all of her chakras were wide open. I actually had to teach her how to tone them down just a little bit. And then one of the hosts gave me this amazing hematite, which is a type of stone. And we had to use that to cut our cords because I had created cords with doing that. So it was amazing. It was amazing. I get to teach that class again coming up in June. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Another thing I've done since the last podcast is attend Intrigue in Indianapolis. I'm going to tell you what, I had a fantastic time, but I was very proactive with that event. It was going to be a little bit challenging for me for personal reasons. And I decided to have a conversation with Auntie Vice, who's been on the podcast before. So we finally got to meet. We got to spend some really cool time together Friday night. I'm still wearing marks from that. So, Auntie Vice, if you are listening, I've still got marks from that. And it is a week later. So, I had something that I did at the beginning of the event, right? To have some joy, have some fun. And then I put something together for the second night of the event just to make sure I had support there and I had friends that came. So, my challenging personal situation ended up not being so challenging because I had so much support. That was really cool. I vended for the weekend. Now there are more people wearing my hooded aftercare blankets and playing with the Kickstarter cards. So that's a lot of fun. And I also presented. I got to teach 2 classes. I love this. I love being able to teach these classes and to continue to present. So one of them was body drumming, healing through rhythm and impact. Amazing. I had a fantastic demo bottom as well. Thank you, Wonder Brat. And then I did dirty talk from shy to sizzling. I got a lot of positive comments on that one after the class. So that was really, really cool. Anyway, I had a great time, except, hmm, except, wow, how do I even explain this? So I may have talked about my sister on the podcast. Well, I had come back for the holidays to spend time with her, and she had been sick, but it wasn't a big deal. And then during the intensive in Northwest Ohio, about halfway through the intensive, I got a message that she had gone on a very challenging downward spiral. So I really had to maintain my energy for that intensive because there's nothing I could do. I was 13 hours away. And then during Intrigue, that second night, thank goodness I had a support network with me because I got the message that she had passed. So I am now in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware to be with family. Now, there's a sadness there. Absolutely. But one thing that I have learned is through sadness, you still have to find moments of joy so that you don't get lost in the sadness. And my sister would not want me to get lost in the sadness. So I talked about Pelion on the last podcast. I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I got all this news at around the time I was going to see this movie in Indianapolis, and I just was not in the mood to go see it. Well, now I'm in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. It is known for being LGBTQ friendly, and the movie is playing right across the street from the family member I'm staying with. So I'm going to go make a point to go see the movie, and it starts in an hour. So we may be talking about the movie on the podcast sometime soon. Anyway, even with sadness, you still have to find those moments of joy so that you don't get lost. And yes, well, currently, if you want to get up with me and you want to schedule a cup of coffee, like I mentioned on FetLife, and I have a list of you guys. Oh, I should see if anybody's around Rehoboth Beach, but I think there's only one person that's close by. I should reach out to him while I'm here over the next couple of days, and then I'll start heading west. Anyway, I'm rambling, but it's a podcast, so what the hell? So if you want to get up with me, I can be found at Dawn_Awakening or Erotic_Awakening on FetLife, Erotic Awakening on Instagram, EA Podcast Dawn on TikTok, or just email me at dawn@eroticawakening.com. Be a part of the Erotic Awakening podcast community. You can become a patron of the show and get early access to the podcast, a free copy of the audiobook Polyamory Toolkit, free ebooks, discounts on monthly Zoom classes, member-only Discord, Not Safe for Work channel, and more. Find all the goodies at patreon.com/eroticawakening today. And help others find Erotic Awakening. Give us high ratings wherever you listen to the podcast. And most importantly, tell your friends about the show. And join the conversation with other listeners. Use the links from the Erotic Awakening website for our interactive Discord channel, which is open to all listeners. Until next time, may your journey be filled with passion, joy, and a bit of naughtiness. Bye, everyone. And Teresa, I will absolutely miss you.